And as our trumpets sound again, we join the Say Report already in progress. Yeah, so basically that was my weekend. How are you doing, Sejohn?
Yeah, this is what we're gonna do is we're gonna get all of the bad stuff out first. Now the show will just be amazing, right? Like we're gonna
That's
do.
that's the hope. Really, I just realized that we record now. The show still comes out on Mondays. If you're listening to this, it's Monday, but we record on Sunday, which I absolutely love. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah, yeah.
But the reason why we record when we record on Sunday is because that's when CBS Sunday Morning starts. And I don't know if anybody who listens to this show. First of all, hi, I'm Devon Decker.
Hey, I'm Sejohn Sarowik.
And that's it. So I don't know if anybody who listens to the Stay Report watches CBS Sunday Morning. I'm not sure how big the circle overlap is uh, in the Venn diagram of those two cultures. But my father absolutely loves CBS Sunday Morning. It's pretty much his religion. Like that, not
Nice.
his religion, but it's his day of worship. It's Sunday. It's early in the morning, and if it's on, shut the fuck up. I'm watching Jane Pauley.
Yeah, it's his ritual. Man needs a ritual,
Yeah,
man. I
everybody
get
needs a
that.
ritual, right? And before it used to be, Charles Osgood, and that I was okay with it then. But Jane Pauley, I don't know. And the real reason I have a problem with Jane Pauley is like she wanted a signature sign off that was like different than Charles Osgood's.
Mm-hmm.
And what she came up with, we'll see you when our trumpet sounds again.
Oh,
And,
oh,
and
oh.
that and that is because when CBS Sunday Morning begins, it plays like a little trumpet fanfare.
Mm.
And it's just like, wow. I don't know what to do with that. I'm sure that Jane Pauley is a fine woman. I just think that like maybe one more pass with the writers before settling on till
Oh
our
man.
trumpets sound again.
Well,
But
I mean, on the one hand, it's really like out of context, it's really grandiose, and you're just like, what the hell could that even possibly mean? And then in context, once you realize what it means, that is just a bad joke.
right, it's not even a dad joke, it's a bad joke.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's a terrible joke. I mean, so like, it's just it doesn't work on any level for me.
But you need to understand that every time we start recording, those trumpets sound. So when Jane Pauley's trumpets sound again, that means it's time to record the Say Report. And I don't know, that's just a funny thing that like I think every time, but like decided this is the episode to share this. This
You
is the
know,
episode to peek
this is where
behind
we
the
talk about
curtain.
the real news, though, like upstairs, they're doing all of that great, like fake news. But down here, this is where we get into the nitty gritty.
Can we talk about the idea of the fake news aspect? All right, so I was on vacation this weekend. I took a little mini vacation with the family, and we got stories to tell about that. But here's just a little bit of like, here's your little appetizer. Your not I guess crudité, but that's not exactly what it is. Amuse bouche. That's the word I was
There it
looking
is.
for. Here's the amuse bouche to that story. Yesterday morning, we're in the hotel room. We're all getting ready to go, and CBS is on because even though it's not CBS Sunday Morning, they still have like an infotainment news show on Saturday as well.
Hmm.
And they're showing a segment that I have already seen, and I'm like, this is bullshit. I've already seen this segment. To which my father goes, "Well, it's the summer. That's when reruns happen." You shouldn't have reruns on the fucking news.
Yeah. I will. I can appreciate that. I mean, it comes out of the idea of the 24-hour news cycle and all that nonsense, right? But I will say that like NPR's bread and butter is like 20 minutes of recording being played out over like 3 hours. Like that's how that whole place runs. Um,
And
and it's
it's
not necessarily fake. It's just that they know that people aren't listening all at the same time.
right. That's different. I'm talking, this is a news segment about a restaurant in New York that I watched at least a year ago. Like,
That
this
is
is,
insane.
that's,
That's insane.
that's what I'm talking about. And like,
The most important part of news? It's new. Like that's like the whole. It's the root of the word, guys. It is immediately happening. It is something that people should not be aware of. You cannot go back to a segment that you did a year ago unless you're revisiting and you're giving us something new.
nothing new.
That is
Actually, they had to take stuff out that was like time appropriate to when it aired a year ago. They had like real bad like smash cuts. And like on one of them it showed media fade. Like the editing was bad.
Yeah, well, and the worst part is like current climate doesn't let you call shit out like that as fake, like nonsense bullshit news without you sounding like a fucking nutter, right? Like, like there are certain things out there that news companies do that they should get called out on, but you can't possibly like call this crap out nowadays without sounding like some like insane conspiracy theorist, right? Like,
yeah, without sounding like Sejohn, you can't call out anything.
No, man. I mean, like you're totally right though. Like that's nonsense. Like they should not be doing that sort of stuff.
Like, and I get that it's like an infotainment thing, but I mean, first of all, let's talk about like who the target audience is for any CBS show, right? It's the high end of the age range.
Oh yes, that's not where I thought you were going. Yes.
No, I'm not trying to be rude. Like I'm just saying, like you have your age range of like 0 to 13. 13 to 21, 21 to 30, 30 to 45, 45 and over. That might not even be right? I'm not a surveyor anymore. But like, so it's that 45 and over crowd who watches CBS, who will like, if you say that Blue Bloods is not very good, will be like, Blue Bloods is the best show on television right now. It's like, then how come nobody's watching it?
It's basically The Wire, and it's like, all right, relax, Grandma. Like,
right, it's not basically The Wire. Everyone in The Wire wasn't related, or were they? I've never seen The Wire. Secrets, but so like at the same time, there's got to be that part in the producer where like, hey, just play that one again. They won't remember.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. No, I mean, right? Like, and if they, yeah, man, it's like, lazy.
I'm not trying to be rude when I say that. I'm just like, I would not doubt that some producer somewhere on one of these CBS shows has said they're not going to remember that we showed this a year ago. They're not 30 years old with perfect memory.
Right. I mean, first of all, they'd have to have been watching this exact episode 30 years ago. And then on top of that, they need to have cared enough to retain the memory. And then on top of that, they're old.
All right. And like every time I bring it up, and I'm not trying to disparage.
Somebody does that math. Somebody does that math.
I'm not trying to disparage my parents at all. But every time, because this isn't the first time that it's happened, right? This isn't the first time that they've replayed a segment. Like a lot of the times, you know what? Even I'm being a jerk, and I'm trying to be rude, but no, that's not true because the Willie Geist NBC morning show this morning replayed an interview with Bill Murray that they did before Isle of Dogs.
Oh man!
And then and they just changed the framing device to like, if you want to see Bill Murray in Isle of Dogs, it's now available on demand, and the Blu-ray comes out on this date, and it's just like. I don't know. Like, I feel like TV news shouldn't be as lazy as YouTube.
Hey, man, I agree, but like, welcome to the 24-hour news cycle, man, where we needed to, for a while, it was, hey, let's make up shit, like, and it became a sensationalization game. But now we're at a point where people call you out on that, right? So like, news companies can't sensationalize things anymore without getting torn apart, right? Like people put them on blast if they ever try and make anything like too crazy nowadays, right? So they take to Twitter. Yeah, they take to Twitter, they take to Facebook and all that crap and just like start ripping into these places for doing this stuff. And so right now they're playing it safe. They're just going back and on segments that they have like kind of in the can that they know are safe and aren't going to upset people, even if they are things they've seen before. Because like at the end of the day, yes, you've seen this Bill Murray interview before, but it's not going to affect the way that you see the world if you watch it again in retrospect, right? Like it's harmless things that they can put back on. You know, this restaurant review from 10 years ago means fucking nothing, you know?
I guess so here's like the crazy thing about it though, and it's now shining the mirror back on me. First of all, I apparently watched too much of these shows because as you were trying to do, you were trying to figure out the exact mathematical equation of like the percentage of people who saw it the first time who will see it the second time.
Right.
So apparently I watch a lot of these infotainment shows, or at least I'm around them and like present enough to recall. But you say that it's not going to change your view of the world, but it changes my view of the world and just like the integrity of these news corporations. But it's only because I am like that small percentage of people who saw this interview or this restaurant review both times.
Well, and you're also smart enough to realize that there is a system in play here, right? Like you understand why this stuff is happening. Like anybody smart enough to realize what is happening is also smart enough to figure out why it's happening and to just be disappointed. You know what I mean? Like you're not gonna go out there and you're not gonna get on your podcast and call them out. No, I mean,
that's a good point.
Yeah.
I guess but the thing is, when they call it out, it suddenly becomes okay with me. Because, like, before the Oscars, they'll re-show a bunch of, like, the movie stuff that they showed the year before. It's a clip show. And I, like, understand that it's a clip show. And I'm okay with it. Just like any show that's doing a clip show, nowadays at least, and even going back to, like, The Simpsons. I mean, they weren't the first clip show by any means. But you look at that first Simpsons clip show, which is Homer going into the coma and then remembering all the things that have happened.
Right.
The episode that started the theory that Homer is still in a coma, and that's why The Simpsons is, like, off the wall now.
Okay, not everything needs a fucking like deep theory, some like revelation in the third act that's going to explain it all. Like, not everything needs that, guys. Relax.
Not everything needs that, but almost everything has it.
Yes, everybody has a Jacob's Ladder scenario. Everybody.
I mean, American Dad, they're like, everything is Stan's personal heaven. And I'm like, I'm fine with that. Except for the fact that in Stan's personal heaven, Klaus is dead. Now, if they had, like, doubled down on it and gotten rid of the Klaus character, I could believe your theory. I really could. Like, I would 100% buy it. But no, Klaus is alive. So, like, it was just a joke at the end of an episode.
Yes. Yeah, so is this just all in your head, Devon? What is going on?
No, I mean, I've got other stuff too, but let's throw to you. What do you got going on in your life? I mean, I know you have a lot going on in your life.
Yeah, no, I've been doing a lot of like crazy moving stuff and packing and things like that, so it's been really hard to kind of keep up on things. But no, the big thing that I've been kind of like mulling over is all of this stupid popular Oscar stuff that's been going on. Did you hear about all of this?
Oh, buddy, I'm excited we get to talk about this.
Yeah,
now,
man.
Before we go further, because I want to see which side of the line we fall on, I think that this has killed the Oscars. The Oscars are officially dead in the eyes of Devon Decker.
Hard stance right away, man.
Well,
all right.
Hard stance. As soon as I saw an article about it, I texted Jeff Hibbert. He was on our Oscar episode, right? Friend of the show. And I said, the Oscars are dead. I know that you never trusted in them as an award show, but I want you to know that I'm there. I sent him the article.
Well, it's so weird. The reason that it's been taking me a while to like kind of figure out how I feel about it is because like I get it. I see where it's coming from. The idea that they want to start being able to like recognize these films that are very clearly popular but never quite fit into their like the system that they created. Like I don't want to give them all of this like leeway. Like they created this system that didn't allow for popular films to ever actually elevate to the point of winning. You know, like it's the idea that like you haven't seen a Marvel movie win an Oscar, right? Like unless it's been a technical effects one. Like they just don't get considered, right? Like just using that as an example. And the reason I use that as an example is because my fear is that they're creating this category specifically for Black Panther. And that's the wrong move. That's the wrong move. Like, if they want to be seen as a more inclusive, diverse awards ceremony that is actually evolving with the times, creating a whole nother category in which to make sure Black Panther gets its due is not the way to do that, because that's not being inclusive, right? Like that's
actually segregation.
It's exactly
the very definition of segregation.
Exactly. You are putting it off in its own little category. You're like letting them in the room, but you're only letting them sit at a very specific table. That's not great, guys. Like and that's my worry, is that because divorced from that, if this was any other year and there wasn't like that huge thing like kind of signposting the problem that this category is going to have, I think they could have gotten away with it. I think they could have pulled it off and actually really kind of spun it in a really good way, saying like, no, this is a chance for things that we know you love. You know, what they tried 5 or 6 years ago, no, it must have been almost 10 years ago at this point, was expanding the number of movies allowed into the Best Picture category, right? So that they could allow things like The Hangover in there, you know, and that sort of thing. But this would have been a good category for The Hangover to probably land in, right?
Right. That's exactly it. But then, first of all, I 100% disagree with you that this year with the signposting of Black Panther is the only reason that it's like causing a ruckus.
Oh, no, I don't think
No. But no. I'm not attacking you directly. I view it.
I don't think that's the only reason.
No. I get that. Like you said though, any other year I don't think it comes up. But I think the reason why they decided to push it this year is because a lot of people are going to focus on the fact, well, they're doing this because Black Panther, so Black Panther gets its due. So like they have a scapegoaty reason to kind of backdoor this into being a category for it. Where like if any other year they're like, we're doing a popular category, they'd be like, well, why? Like what do you mean by popular? Because it obscures the issue. The fact that Black Panther is there.
But it's a
Trojan horse.
It's so tone deaf. It is extremely tone deaf. Like, it means that they have no real understanding on how to handle a movie like Black Panther if this is their solution, or if that's what they're hoping. If they're trying to use Black Panther as the reason to create this category, they're going to be shooting themselves in the foot, and they're going to sound even stupider. Like,
and you're not wrong. But I don't think that Black Panther is the reason why they're choosing to create this category. I think that Black Panther, because of how big it is and because everybody jumps to the conclusion that this is because of Black Panther. Like everybody has had that discussion. Like, so this is so that Black Panther can win an Oscar. Is that's the only reason that they've come up with this category? But I disagree.
Oh no, I think they've been trying to figure out how to do something like this for years.
Exactly, and they're just like, so we sneak it in under the under Black Panther, right? And like, so we have 1 year where people think that we're tone deaf, but then it's part of the Oscars. then like it doesn't go away, and people just, you know, with that year to heal over, like that scar will essentially fade.
I think you're giving them way too much credit. I think they're being super awesome given I think they think that they're going to be real great given this whole category so that Black Panther can win an Oscar, and they're going to be patting themselves on the back for what a great job that they're doing, like making sure that this movie gets its due. Completely, like I said, being completely tone deaf to the fact that what they're actually doing is actually segregating it out. I think that I don't think that they expect that they're going to catch a lot of shit for this. I think they thought they were doing the greatest thing since sliced bread when they did this.
I think the House of Commons of the Academy feels the way that you're thinking. The House of Commons is congratulating themselves for finding this way to pass.
Now, Devon, what is the House of Commons?
The House of Commons is I'm just saying. Well, so the House of Commons is like the. First of all, I'm using this as a metaphor.
Yeah, no, I understand. But when you're talking about this, like, let's break this down.
That's just your average Academy member. Like they're not the people who have any sort of say. I'm referring to Parliament, right? I hate that I'm describing the metaphor.
I'm not asking you to explain the joke, dude.
It's not a joke, but it's not a joke. I don't mean it. I don't mean it as a joke. But I'm not talking about Brad Pitt or anything. I'm not talking about any of the people that jump to mind when you think about it. I'm thinking about the people like the House of Lords, the people who are in that dark basement in their cloaks, right? The stone fucking cutters, because they rig every Oscar night. They are the ones who are like, let them pat themselves on the back for finding this tone-deaf way to reward Black Panther, and that's what people will remember about this. Because the bigger issue, like, that comes up from a popular category for, like, outstanding achievement in popular film, I believe is the name of the category.
Yeah.
How can you say, all right, let's just go like right now. The last Best Picture winner was The Shape of Water. Oh, I was so prepared for this, Sejohn. Thank you for bringing it up.
Yeah, man.
The Shape of Water has made $60 million, right?
Sure.
I think it's like 63, 4, 5, whatever. But let's call it $65 million, right?
Sure.
Black Panther, and you're right, it's a year later. I understand that. But Black Panther has made $700 million.
Okay.
Right? Black Panther has made 10 times more money than The Shape of Water.
Right.
So how can you say that The Shape of Water is the best picture if you put those two against each other? Because profitability, that has to factor into the equation. So what they're doing by this outstanding achievement in popular film is they're essentially taking that part of the equation where, like, oh, this movie wasn't as profitable, but it was beautiful, and it spoke to, like, the old Hollywood sentimentalities that live in, that still are alive in Hollywood in our minds, right?
Yeah.
So let's like take that one factor that's different, and that's what we're going to focus on, right? Because you got to look at the movies that are going to be up for this award. First of all, it's probably just going to be 5, right? This is not going to have the wonder of 10 slots the way Best Picture does, because that just becomes pandemonium, and soon every category has that cap of 10 instead of 5.
Yeah. Right.
Right. So like you need to make sure that you parse out what you're giving the proper way. So you have 5 titles nominated for Outstanding Achievement in Popular Cinema. That this year, right, based purely on money, is Black Panther, it's Infinity War, it's Fallen Kingdom. I can't think of 2 other movies from this year that made a shit ton of money yet. Thoughts? I guess Mission Impossible.
Deadpool.
Yeah, Deadpool 2 and Mission Impossible Fallout. Right?
You know, and that's only so far. We still got
exactly. And we have like 4 months left. Not even because you go to like January, but
I'm just trying to figure out the right time to jump in and tell you how much I disagree with the idea that money has to be a factor in the Best Picture nom. But
but I understand that money doesn't have to be. Money currently is not a factor into the Best Picture nomination.
Right.
We all know that, right? Because
right.
we're judging the film on its merits. That's the whole thing. But what you're saying is, if a movie makes a certain amount of money, then its merits are not worth judging. That's what it looks like.
That's what it looks like. Is when you create this popular category, the question becomes, what's the difference between well-made and popular then, right? Because does it matter if a film is well-made if enough people love it? Doesn't that mean something? Maybe we should question the way that then why don't you question the formula that you've put in place for a quote unquote well-made movie? If the problem is that a movie does super well and it doesn't fit into your understanding of what a good movie is, like maybe your understanding of what a good movie is needs to be tweaked, not create this entire separate idea for essentially it's the Academy admitting that they're pretentious. That there is a level at which they enjoy movies that we do not enjoy movies, and this popular movie category is insane to me. I mean, it's essentially it's like they're going along and picking up the Golden Globes to just like hey, come in for this 1 second, right? Yeah. Or like, hey, People's Choice, come on in here for a second and just do this thing because we don't understand what we're doing. I mean, it's really, really weird, because why not actually just consider these popular films as best pictures? Like, why create their own category? Why not say we're going to be starting to consider box office receipts and critical reception in some of this math that we do when we pick these things? You know what I mean? Like, that would have been the way to go about it. Creating this whole other category, I guess I'm landing where what you were saying is like, this just kind of kills it for me, because it kind of it pulls back the curtain in a way that really makes me feel kind of gross about the rest of the categories. Or it makes me feel gross about this one particular category. Either way I look at it, like, I just get this really skeevy feeling now at the way the system works, and I don't like it. I don't like it.
No, and that's right. And also something like the word popular, right? That's so objective.
It's such a loaded word.
It's such a loaded word. So that's why, like, when I brought it up with Jeff, he said the only way I'll be happy is if, like, the pool of nominees before we even get the 5 nominees is only open to the top 10 highest grossing films of the year.
What if it was an honorary award? What if it wasn't a category with five that they voted on? What if it was like an honorary award that they determined like based on things like we did the math and the box office receipts and critical reception, like everything works out where you get this. Like
So if it's
just
an honorary
congratulations.
award, you go back. You don't start now. You establish that we're doing an honorary award for outstanding achievement in popular film. And then like Star Wars gets like the first honorary award for
Right.
that. Or like even going back to like the Wizard of Oz,
Oh
right?
yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
That you don't even do it on the year. You
Don't
actually make
fucking
it a
front
historical
load it.
thing.
You make it a
Yeah,
historic thing, this thing where you're like, we're going to be honoring these films that like obviously were popular, but you know, based upon the ideals of the time, may not have been considered a good film
yeah,
or a best picture worthy film.
yeah.
And that's how you do it. And then like Star Wars, Ghostbusters, like and that's actually the way that you bring in like a younger element. Because you hear
And a
that
pop element, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
And it's a way that does it that's completely allowed with the own rules that the Oscars have set up because they give honorary awards out all the fucking time.
Yeah.
The people who are like, yeah, okay, so you were never like up to the ideal, but you know, you left a lasting mark in Hollywood. Or, you
And
know, you were
time
a
has
black actor in the 40s and nobody wanted you to get nominated for anything, but you deserve recognition.
Well, and that's where the Lifetime Achievement Award comes in, right? For
Exactly.
specific people, right? But now doing this on a larger scale for like specific movies, right? And saying, okay, this is a film that like in retrospect, we've got years now to see what it actually did. And in retrospect, this should have been something that we should have conceded. I mean, like in that way, it almost becomes like a great little like catch-all like band-aid for like those years when you do fuck up. You know, those best pictures that they pick that nobody ever talks about again, yet there was the film that didn't have a single nomination that was still important to all of us. Like you done fucked up, Academy, for not recognizing that film in its year, but here's a chance for you to go back, right? Yeah, that's a much more nuanced way for them to handle it. That they're just yeah, this way that they're doing this popular
And
film thing is just gonna it's gonna blow up in their face.
well, let's even talk about it, right? If they would have been smart, right? That's the foundation of an outstanding achievement in popular cinema.
Hmm.
That's how you do it. You lay the foundation down by doing these like lifetime achievement awards for films that were overlooked.
Right.
Right? You lay your foundation, and then after 10 years of that, you can like introduce the category that's essentially outstanding achievement in popular film because you've given us rules. You've
You know what?
given it time to scab over and heal.
You know, one of my favorite ones of these is on a much smaller scale is there's a small little video game podcast that I listen to. Small, it's not that small. I don't know why I said that way. Giant Bomb. But they do award ceremonies at the end of each year, and they've got this fantastic award that they created pretty early on called Blank's year best movie. It's essentially, so this is 2018, right? So they gave out 2018's best game of 2017 where they look back on the year before and it's a game that they feel like they might have missed in their awards, where that they looked back at and they were just like, man, it's a shame that we didn't actually talk about this game enough. And it's not like, hey, this was the best thing and we were wrong. It's, hey, this was a really good thing that just didn't get its due last year and we feel bad about that, right? Like they're very open about that fact. And it's because they come from the video game community, which I feel is a much, it just feels like the video game community is a much tighter community, right? When it comes to this, artist and critic are much more closely related, like they used to be with Hollywood, and like, you know, 40 years ago. But that's just not the case anymore, right? Like the Academy just seems so out of touch with what actual like audience members want, and you know that what some artists want. You know, like because that's what I was asking you earlier to clarify who you were talking about, is because I do feel that there are people making movies that aren't even happy about this, right? Like this isn't Hollywood versus us. This is a very specific group of people that are doing something dumb, and I want to make sure that people understand that, because a lot of the talk that I'm hearing about this thing right now is everybody just talking about like Hollywood's fucking up again, and it's like no, because there are people out there that understand what we want, and it just sucks because the Academy is just has become so insular that they are just completely missing what it is that even their own artists want to be doing it with the award ceremony. Like I love the idea of adding categories and growing up and moving on, and even the idea of considering popular film and how they've kind of disconnected from popular film over the years. Like I get that. 50 years ago when the Academy Awards started, popular films were the ones winning the awards. The best movies were the movies that people were seeing. So somewhere along the line they lost that, and trying to figure out where they stumbled is good, like important for them to grow up. But the problem is that they're learning all the wrong lessons, it feels like.
So, and another thing is award season. Like that, like it sucks that if your movie is not released after August, right? Then because August is traditionally known as the like month where movies don't fucking matter.
Uh-huh.
And that is why we've had like 5 releases these past 2 Fridays.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
it's a
yeah,
bunch
yeah.
of like movies that like, yeah, we'll just release it in August. And it's like, well, no wonder all of these movies are failing. It's an oversaturated market. You release Slender Man and The Meg on the same weekend, people are going to choose one to see because
Yeah.
they're both sort of horror elementy movies.
They're feeding the same audience.
Yeah.
They're the same target audience for sure. Yeah.
So of course one of them is going to die on the vine.
I hope it's
Because
Slender Man.
oh, it's going to be Slender Man. The Meg has already exceeded expectations.
Oh, you know how happy I am about that? Oh my God, we need to talk about the Meg sometime. Not today because I need to get back into the books and stuff. It is a series of books.
Oh my God, that's exciting.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah,
Jack
yeah,
Reacher.
yeah. Yes, exactly. And Jason Statham's character is the fucking like Jack Reacher of that series. It's phenomenal. Anyway, we'll talk about it sometime especially after everybody sees the movie too.
I haven't seen it yet, and I'm very upset. But I was in Philadelphia, which we'll transition out of this in a second. But like the idea of an award season, I feel like any movie that's going to be considered for this outstanding achievement in popular cinema comes out between May and May, July, right? Like that. Those are all the movies that I named, except for Black Panther, right? Which is an outlier. But then you also look at like the Grand Budapest Hotel came out in February and got a
Well,
Best Picture nomination.
and let's think about specifically the outlying nature of something like Black Panther. First of all, was it 2 years ago that Deadpool came out and proved that February didn't have to be a dead month? Like
Yes.
that was like a big thing. And
Well,
and
2014 is where that was proven with the Lego movie.
Lego
Because the Lego
movie. That's
movie
fair.
came out
Yep.
in 2014 and showed no people go to the movies in February if there's a movie that's worth seeing.
Right,
So
right.
that's
Like,
why
this is exactly
Deadpool
what you're
did the
talking
same
about.
thing.
Is that January and February used to be seen as quote unquote dead months where like you just kind of just pooped out whatever it was that like usually what you get in January is a lot of the movies that were meant for award season but then like didn't test well, so they end up getting pushed back to early January, February, and they might, if they're lucky, get like a limited release just in time to get into the Oscars, but nobody's actually pushing for them, that sort of thing. So yeah, so January and February used to be read as like dead months, but then Lego movie comes along, Deadpool comes along. So at that point, Black Panther coming out in February almost had to happen because then you add to that the whole Black History Month factor that like it just makes sense for Black Panther to just be coming out in February, and we've proven that it's not a dead month. Let's do this thing. So like already that entire concept of the calendar year, like the dips and lows and of movie going, that was all being blown to shit anyway, because of that sort of stuff. But then, yeah, now we've got these things where you don't see a good movie until September. Really? I don't think that's true, right?
No, it's definitely not true. It's just ridiculous. And then and you have to shift gears. Like if you're the kind of person who goes to the movies all the time, it requires a huge switch from watching films just to be entertained to watching films on this weird merit of whether or not they're Oscar worthy.
It definitely kills my I was gonna say kills my steam, and that just sounded, I don't know, gross to me. But it definitely it kills my motivation to go out to the theater anytime after September. Right, September to December is hard for me to go to a movie because it feels like every movie, being award season, is like pushing for that. Even the best, even the most fun films, right? Like something like Thor would come out in November, and that's why Thor always kind of felt a little weird to me. I think part of it was the idea that because they were releasing them in the later in the years with Thor 1 and 2, it always felt like they were really pushing them as higher class films, but simply because they wanted those to be their November award season movies. And it made sense the first time around with Kenneth Branagh being behind the wheel. And you had that cast that they had first announced. So like it felt like they were trying to make a higher class of Marvel film when the first Thor came out. So it made sense for them to release it in that time of the year. But for me, it actually took some of the wind out of my sails and going to it because it just feels so pretentious in that way. And maybe that's me because of knowing how the system works with this whole like award season nonsense. Maybe that's just me laying something on that movie that isn't actually there, you know, in retrospect. I should give Thor a watch sometime in February and see how I feel about it.
I don't know. Thor's my favorite Marvel movie. Like, if you want to talk about the early ones.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because I liked Thor. And so those thoughts never entered into my mind.
Yeah,
like, I never even considered. I'm just like, I can't believe we're getting a friggin' Thor movie. Because the last representation of Thor was the Return of the Incredible Hulk, where he's an idiot.
Yeah. Well, you know, let's not kid ourselves here. Like, you work on a different level when it comes to this sort of like pop culture zeitgeist stuff than a lot of people do, right? Like the way that the zeitgeist feeds into how you do things is very different than the rest of us, you know. So like, but I do wonder if there is a psychological aspect to all of this, right? Not just is it the idea of the zeitgeist and the popularity and the idea of the popular wave and all that stuff, but also, you know, at the end of the day, award season ends up being that season because legitimately movie companies, I think, are afraid that people are going to forget about their films if they do them any earlier than that. Like the idea being like, hey, voting is going to be in January, so let's make sure that we get this thing out at just the right time where they've seen it maybe 3 or 4 times, you know. Like they've had the chance to see it 3 or 4 times before the awards thing, because there are people out there that are going to movies. The people that are voting on these awards are the kinds of people that are seeing movies all the time and re-seeing them if they need to for like research and stuff. And they get screeners. Well, that's screeners is actually where the thing breaks down, right? The idea that well, you are going to send them a screener, so maybe we can release a movie in February because they're going to get a screener anyway, right?
Yeah, but it's what it is that it's not fiscally responsible to have a billboard up for a film that came out in February. If a movie is currently in the theater, you can have a billboard up. And so if people are driving into work and they're constantly seeing the billboard for, I don't know, The Shape of Water, they're constantly being reminded how much they liked that film.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that's part of the like award packaging and the award campaign,
right?
That like we don't see where we are because we don't live in Hollywood, where like their saturation is to a point where like, oh yeah, La La Land, I liked La La Land, right? Like I'll vote for La La Land. It was a fun time.
Yeah, but I think that again, this is the Academy just not clicking into how the world works really anymore. Is that billboard on the way to work is not necessarily the best way to reach people anymore. You know what I mean? Like they're not, but they still think it is, you know, and that sort of stuff. So the industry still works on this old school way of doing things because specifically the Academy is stuck on such an old school way of doing things. And that sucks. That basically the reason why we're seeing things like the award season still be a factor is because of just this very specific group of people that have nothing to do with the rest of our lives, right? Like they actually very much dictate the entertainment that we take in, all because of just the season alone, just the idea of the calendar year alone. It dictates what kind of movies we take in. Because the other thing is you talk about the idea of oversaturation. That's also what leads to people not seeing every Oscar movie every year. So then you get all these weird things where like a lot of people end up watching the Oscars and they maybe haven't even seen the Best Picture, and it's no fun to watch. You know what I mean? Because like, oh, great, it's like 2 movies I have seen and like 10 movies I haven't, and all they're talking about is this movie I have no connection to or no emotional attachment to because I haven't seen it. So like, I have no interest in this anymore. Whereas on the other hand, if those movies had come out spread out over the year, people probably would have had more of a chance to see them, and there's more of a likelihood that you have a larger audience that are actually like emotionally attached to these awards that you're giving out. It's just so cold and disconnected from audience members now that's part of the reason why people aren't watching for sure, is because they just haven't seen the movies.
Right. So I'm gonna just do a quick run through of stuff I've been thinking about, but I didn't want to interrupt you. And then we can transition to something else because there's a lot here, and I think that we've unpacked a lot. But just a couple of things. Once award season starts, I see a lot less double features because those are the kind of movies that you can't watch two of in a day, or you'll dehydrate yourself to death.
Yeah.
Two, January and February, one of the reasons they were dead months is because it's when Oscar movies would get their wide releases, and nobody wanted to compete against movies that have already been like approved as like worth your time. Right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
Because like Shape of Water didn't like came out last week of December, and it's like, oh, it's nominated for Best Picture. Oh well, I guess I should see that. I'm not gonna go see Rock Dog. Poor Rock Dog. But also you talk about like how when you see a movie during award season, you treat it differently. Like you said that about Thor, and that is 100% the film Silence, Martin Scorsese's film from like 2 years ago.
Sure.
Which I saw and absolutely loved. I devoured it. 3 hours flew the fuck by. And then like in February, I was at a meeting of the Rhode Island Film Collaborative. My last meeting of the Rhode Island Film Collaborative, interestingly enough. And someone's like, well, did you see Silence? I'm like, yeah, I fucking loved it. I thought it was beautiful and all this da-da-da-da-da-da. And he's like, I watched it last week. It was fucking bullshit. And I'm like, well, that's interesting because it's bullshit is not like, I gave reasons why I loved it. You just said it's bullshit and that's the end of the conversation. So that's why I stopped going to these meetings, because you want to have like intelligent conversation with film people, right? I want to be on. I would love a Legion of Sejohn, to have discussions with, right? That's why I love doing this podcast with you, because very rarely do you present an opinion without some sort of support for it.
Well, and I'm always be the first to admit when I don't have a reason behind something. Like there are things out there that we just don't like, but you have to be willing to admit, like, I don't have a good argument for that though. And so like then you have to listen to other people explain to you why you're wrong, and that's your punishment for being an asshole. Exactly.
But now that you mentioned that, like I saw it during that season where like everything I was seeing was sort of epic. So like I was prepared for like high cuts of meat, right? Like I'd prefer a ribeye to a McDonald's cheeseburger, no matter what. So of course, but like if I'm getting served a ribeye when like it's cheeseburger season, I'd be like, no, I just kind of want a cheeseburger.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure, man. Well, I mean, expectation. We talk about that all the time when we talk about like going to the movies ourselves, and the idea that there's all sorts of things that feed into that. And yeah, the easy things to point to are things like marketing. But one of the things that we don't think about is, like I said, is that this very small group, the Academy, has this control over our understanding of how movies work. So there is a level of expectation created by award season, right? And that's crazy.
Right. Are these movies the best pictures because they're the best pictures, or are they the best pictures because our minds have been trained to believe that they should be?
Oh God. Okay, we can't think about this.
No, we can't go there. We need
to. Yeah.
Right, but also I think you said like the best picture like made that time. I'm going to just cite Crash for like that one best picture, and people are like, why did that win best picture? Mm-hmm. So like sometimes that happens that way too. And finally, and this is a shout out to David Howard. You know, love David Howard. Patron saint of the podcast. I hope it's okay with me saying that. But he's the reason that I like popular. It means nothing to me, because he said the only person who matters if something is cool to is you. So if you think something's cool, fuck everybody else. He didn't say fuck everybody else, but that was like what the tone said. So like everybody has their own judgment of what is popular and what is cool. So it's just it's a scary thing. And it's also given up a lot of control based on like any metric that I can think of that is actually quantifiable to determine something's popularity.
Yeah. Yeah. Things are going to get weird the next couple of months when it comes to movie stuff, guys. This popular film thing is going to be a bigger thing than I think we realize right now.
Oh, I think
hopefully
I
not.
realize
Hopefully
it,
not.
But I think Sejohn will get there.
Well, when I say we, I mean
I think he means
the royal
we, not just us at the Say Report. Oh, because I get it. Like I really am. Like, I'm a little disappointed that this year during the Oscars, I competed in a Zelda race instead of watching it, because that means that my last Oscars, you know what, my last Oscars was the one where Moonlight won, and
Yeah,
it was fucking amazing.
it was pretty epic the
Yeah,
way that
so
that
like
went down. So
if that's my last Oscars, and it very well might be, I'm okay with it.
we'll find out, man.
All
We'll
right.
find out.
So I was in Philadelphia this weekend, right? On to
Oh,
crazier,
damn.
happier news. Thursday night, there was a Jimmy Buffett concert at Fenway, which I had
Fantastic.
tickets to, but I ended up not going. I'll be honest
Oh.
that I did not go. And well, here's the reason. It was supposed to be Jimmy Buffett and Huey Lewis. Now,
Yeah.
you know Devon
Which
Decker.
which sounds like Devin Decker's heaven,
It
actually.
does sound like Devon Decker's Heaven, right? But the reason why that's Devon Decker's Heaven is really the inclusion of Huey Lewis.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know 13 Jimmy Buffett songs, the 13 tracks off of Songs You Know by Heart, which, just like Follow Up, Apple has taken off track 2, He Went to Paris, from the iTunes store. So even though I've purchased it, I cannot listen to it on any of my Apple devices.
Stupid.
Pisses
We've
me off every
we've
time.
had this
That's why
rant before, and
that's
I
why
don't want people to forget it.
That's why I brought it back up, because that's like one of my favorite Jimmy Buffett songs. And it's because it's not about getting drunk and forgetting women. And it's a beautiful song. He does get drunk in it too. He drinks his Green Label each day, which is a beer. But like Huey Lewis is a guy who, like, I celebrate his entire collection. Like, I listen to deep cuts of Huey Lewis and the News. Like, my favorite Huey Lewis song was Walking on a Thin Line. Do you know the song Walking on a Thin Line?
No, I don't think it's probably something that only you are aware of in this world nowadays, man.
Yeah, right? So, like, when my parents were like, we're going to see Jimmy Buffett, do you want to come? I'm like, who's he playing with, right? Because, first of all, I don't want to be trapped for, like, hours at Fenway Park, and he's got, like, a shitty opening act that I have to sit through with a bunch of...
Also, Parrotheads are a very particular type of fan.
Exactly, right? So they're like, oh, he's playing with Huey Lewis. And I'm like, done. I'm there. Hell, I might even leave after Huey Lewis, let's be honest. Because there's no way that Jimmy Buffett is the opening act.
Yeah, right, exactly.
So I was very excited. And then Huey, he's going deaf from playing out too much. So he has retired from touring. And, like, good for him. I give him all the credit in the world for putting his health over monetary gain.
Right.
But it did mean that Huey Lewis was not going to be at this concert anymore. And it really kind of took the winds out of my sails.
Yeah. So you had a little bit of a bummer, or you didn't go. You said,
I didn't
right?
go. I ended up not going because, like, I like, and I kept thinking, I'm like, I'm still gonna have this ticket. I'm not gonna sell off the ticket. Maybe I'll just go see Jimmy Buffett. But like you said, parrot heads are weird. Not weird. They're unique. A parrot head is a unique fan.
Well, I mean, like, and like all all major music fans, right? Like, it's the same thing with like the Juggalo culture. Like, there's a very particular type of fan out there for that particular type of music that I don't fit into. But like, I don't deny anybody's bliss. Like, if that's the kind of life you want to lead, man, cheeseburger in paradise all the way. Like, go for it.
Right. Exactly. That's true. And then the replacement for Huey Lewis was announced, and it was Peter Wolf and the Midnight Travelers. Do you know who Peter Wolf is?
I feel like it was a Family Guy joke once, and that's probably all I know about them.
He's the lead singer of Jay Giles' band.
Oh, okay.
That's Peter Wolf. And then he went out and had a solo career. So, needless to say, I'm like, yeah, I'm probably not going to go to this. Like, I'm kind of done with concerts anyway. Like, I understand that. Like, I got over the scene. And I honestly, talking about oversaturation again, I went to so many shows when I was younger.
Yeah.
That, like, I have this nostalgia for what they used to be, and they are never that anymore.
No,
because,
man.
like, live music concert culture when we were younger was awesome. Like, tickets were affordable. Like, I look at ticket prices now, and I'm like, $300 for the balcony? What?
Yeah, man. No, I mean, we had a very pretty good gig where a lot of the times we were actually working things too. Like, that's one of the reasons that I have so much of a memory of concert culture is actually backstage stuff for me. But yeah, for sure. Like, it was a different it was just different, man. I mean, I don't know. Part of it was I was also going to much different shows than I would now, you know? Like I would be going to punk shows and ska shows and stuff. And I just don't have that in me because like, never mind the ticket prices, the people are just not, you know, first of all, I'm a 30-year-old man. I'd be surrounded by a bunch of 14-year-old kids punching each other in the face. That's not where I need to be.
Right.
You
And if you punch a 14-year-old in the face, suddenly it's a felony.
know? Yeah. So none of that nonsense, right?
So it's also, I mean, like, where I trace the whole concert thing to is Weezer. Like, the first time I saw Weezer, it was general admission. I was right up front. Like, I could not get closer to Rivers Cuomo or any of the guys, I thought. And then a year later, I won tickets to be backstage during a Weezer show. No, to actually be on stage during a Weezer show.
Nice.
And then like they were in the bus accident, and that never happened. But like that was going to be my next experience seeing Weezer. Was like I couldn't get close to them in 2008, 2009. We're gonna put you on stage, Devon. Oh, okay. So then 2010, right? A friend of mine, because she knew about that, got us tickets front row center in Boston. That like, so we were close, but like close enough that like Scott was coming down and talking to me between songs. So like it was this cool thing, and like the guy sitting behind us, he had like a VIP badge on and all this, and he's like, "When did you get your tickets?" And I'm like, "Oh, we bought them today." And he's like, "You should switch with me. I'm clearly a bigger fan of Weezer than you. I'm a VIP." And then security kicked him out. He's like, "Don't harass him. Get out of here." And security's
Nice.
like, they do this. They keep these 2 seats free until they don't put them on sale until the day of the show, because they know that like a real diehard fan will buy them the day of the show.
Nice.
Like, so it was like this cool thing. And then the last time I saw Weezer was 2 years ago now, and it was at Xfinity Center Arena, and they were like little ants, so far away.
Yeah,
and
man.
Panic at the Disco opened for them. And I'm like, wow, Weezer's changed. But Weezer hasn't just changed. I've changed too. And it's like one of those things where it's like, you know, it's different. It's just real different. So I ended up not doing that. But bonus, we were staying at a hotel in Framingham because my parents didn't want to drive back to Rhode Island after the concert, which makes sense because they didn't get back to the hotel till like 1 a.m. So I get it, right? And that was like 30 minutes away from Boston, not the hour away from Boston.
Yeah, right.
Right. And they didn't have to deal with traffic because, you know, there was a T station right by our hotel. So it all worked out for them. But we were in Framingham. My friend Emilio lives in Framingham. So we ended up hanging out that night, and we went to a barbecue joint. I love me some barbecue. Have we ever barbecued together? Have we ever barbecued together? Dreamland.
You and me?
Yeah.
Man. Do you remember that time at Chris's house, Chris Daly's house, where we watched the producers and I made steak and stuff? And
Yeah, that was another good. Yes, yeah, we know we've barbecued. You understand the love of barbecue.
It was like 2 o'clock in the morning, and we showed up at Chris Daly's house, and we were just like, I don't know. Well, I have this really nice enclosed porch with a TV on it and stuff, and I have no idea why we put the producers on, but it's what we did. We sat there for 2.5 hours and watched that movie.
and you cooked the steak. God, that is a nice. But yeah, but also that like you go to barbecue places. So we go to this place, Fireflies, because Emilio, he has dietary restrictions now. He found out that he's got celiacs. So he's like,
got to do that gluten-free stuff then, yeah?
Gluten-free. So that's the funny thing. So like we get in his car and he's like, so where do you want to eat? And I'm like, you have dietary restrictions. My opinions do not matter.
Why do you ask me that?
Like,
I have a couple of other friends that are gluten-free, and they're always just like, oh, wherever you want, I'll find something. And I'm like, don't do that to me, because I'm going to be the asshole that finds that one place where you can't get anything.
Let's go to House of Bread.
Yeah, I'm just like, hey, let's go to this place. And it's just like, that's a pizza place. Yeah. All they do is just pizza, like things on bread, like dough on dough on dough. No, damn it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we can get that triple-decker pizza. It's pizza with a pizza on top, and then another pizza on top.
With the breadsticks, and then it's the thick crust, all on the pizza.
Yeah. So he's like, well, I like barbecue, and that's definitely something that I can eat now. And I'm like, yeah, okay, let's do this. So we go to this place, Fireflies, and we pull up, and their parking lot is packed. And we're like, okay, it happens, right? We'll be a little busy. We're just hanging out anyway. They was packed because they have an outdoor patio area that was like a Jimmy Buffett concert. That's really the only way to describe it.
Nice.
But the inside of the restaurant was like quiet and calm, and so we just sat in the inside. Nice. And we each got a 2-meat platter. We got an appetizer that was just the burnt ends of brisket.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. Fantastic.
And then as our meats, we each got brisket and ribs.
Oh,
right?
Jesus.
Like, and sides, right? So mashed potatoes and mac and cheese and cornbread, which he couldn't eat, right? Bonus. And we got drinks and all this. And it was a reasonable price, right? I'm going to tell you, it was $60 for this night of barbecue. And the only reason that I say that is because there's a barbecue place in Rhode Island that I used to be a big fan of, but they're probably going to go out of business because the last time I was there, they were out of onion rings. And it was not like the time when you're out of onion rings. It's one of those like, maybe we don't reorder onion rings because it's not worth the line item right now. Maybe we stop stocking onion rings
at this steak place. Maybe we don't need onions to go along with all of our steak stuff.
Well, barbecue place, and we got the exact same meal the last time we went there. Right, 2 meats, brisket. Actually, we just got brisket. We didn't even get ribs, and the same sides and drinks and all this, and it was $90.
Oh man!
So and the meal that we had on Thursday was 60% better than this Carolina barbecue place that we went to.
Excellent.
But it was like 3 times more expensive. Like it was 50% more expensive.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So
that's
like,
crazy.
And then as we're leaving, right, Emil was like, "I just gotta hit the bathroom," and I'm sitting there like in their like little vestibule area at Fireflies. And it's the 9th ranked barbecue place in America by National Geographic magazine.
That's
like
awesome.
This one of those things.
That's
like,
such a good.
I did not know this.
That's such a good little find. Like, and it's such a weird like metric that it kind of wouldn't matter. Like, it wouldn't get out into the world, but at the same time, knowing it's actually like a pretty cool claim to fame to have. It's like not being in the Guinness Book of World Records, but being in like some lesser like great like world record book.
Being like in Ripley's Believe It or Not.
Yeah, there you go. It's like, oh, that's weird. That's cool though. National Geographic's rating system for barbecue must be phenomenal.
Dude, like seriously, but like the other places is like places that I've driven to and gone to, so I'm like, this list knows what it's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So
I feel like National Geographic knows how to cook an animal. Like,
yeah, they'd have to, right? That's why the covers are yellow. I don't know.
What?
Exactly. That's the thing. So we barbecued down on Thursday night, and then the family, right? I took a day off and Dale took a day off so we could do like a mini trip to Philadelphia. So the next morning we set off for Philadelphia and we drive, and we have one goal in mind going to Philadelphia, and that is to eat at the steakhouse Butcher and Singer. Have you ever heard of Butcher and Singer?
No, but I mean, name alone, it sounds like one of the classiest, best joints you could possibly go for a steak.
Right, and we're all wearing T-shirts and shorts. And Dale's like, I think like they just called to confirm our reservation. Are we underdressed for this? And she's like, no. My mom's like, no. I read on the internet, shorts and T-shirt are not only allowed but encouraged.
Oh, hey,
like,
okay.
Okay, cool. So we get there, right? We check into the hotel. Our reservation's at 6. We get to the hotel at 4 because it's not a light drive from Boston to Philadelphia.
No, not really.
So
it's a day. It's
a day. So we get into the hotel, we check in, and then we go to this place, and they have valet parking, and that is the cheapest option to park your car, is to valet it. Like, the thing around the street is $22 for 2 hours. I don't doubt it. Valet was $18. And it's like, yeah, okay, cool. So we'll valet it. So we valet the car, we go in, we sit down, we're all looking at the menus, and then suddenly the valet guy comes trotting into the restaurant. And he's like, I was just hit in your car. So Dale's car, just in an accident.
Yep.
My mother's car now in an accident. Because the valet driver got hit by a woman trying to pull into the spot he was parking into.
Wait, but it was valet parking. Don't they have their own private
No, no,
parking
no, no,
lots?
no. You would think that, but this is the most fucked up part of this whole story. Is like there was an open spot right in front of where the valet parking drop off was. So
Yeah.
he just went to pull the car forward into that. So
Oh my
like we
God.
could have just parked there, I guess,
Oh
and not paid
God.
the valet. So he's like slowly pulling forward, gets hit by the lady in this GMC Arcana.
Oh my God.
So he comes in. So my mother like goes out and she's pissed. So I'm like, okay, so are you guys gonna be okay? And like I'm just trying to like figure out what's going on in the restaurant before like I should probably be the one out there because
Hmm.
I'm the fucking car accident whisperer.
Right.
So as I'm about to go, a waiter comes over. Not our waiter. A waiter comes over, and he's like, "So we're gonna get you guys some drinks. Here's a menu. We're gonna take care of you." And he sees my shirt, and it's this suit. It's a regular Nintendo controller, and it says "Keep It Classic." And he goes, "Man, I love regular Nintendo." Like he like real giddy, and he's like, "Let me just say something to you: up, up, down, down, left, right, A, B, A, B, A, B, start. You know what that is?" And I'm like, "That's nothing." The Konami code is up, up, down, down, left, B, A, start. But I'm not. But like, there's this moment in my head where like knowledge and like civility fight each other, and civility's like, just say it's Contra. Like,
Oh,
don't
look at you
school
not
this
being an
guy.
asshole.
Well, they were just in a car accident, right? So I'm like, yeah, it's from Contra. He's like, yeah, man, 99 lives, and I'm like, it's 30 lives. It's only 30 lives. Why are you testing me like this? So like we have this really cool conversation because of that shirt, and then my father's like, "You're gonna go out there, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." The guy started talking to me about the code wrong. I couldn't like break out, so I go outside, and my mother's like, "Look at the ink." It's like so it's a dent, right? And it's not a super bad dent. Like I've been in worse. And she's like, "Do we just let it go?" And I'm like, "No, we don't just let it go. We have to report it." And it sucks that we have to report it, but there's nothing stopping the driver of the other car from reporting it and saying that we pulled out and then we didn't do anything. It's preventative, and it
Yeah, right.
sucks that you have to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
So for an hour, we are outside waiting for the police to come because in a city, a traffic collision, that's low priority.
Yeah, that's pretty low priority. I actually was once at a fender bender in Boston. When I called into the police, they basically laughed me off the phone.
Yeah.
They were like, "Is anybody hurt?" No. And then you don't need us. Like, talk to your insurance company. And I was like, "Oh, okay." That was fun to explain to the insurance company why a police officer was not taking a statement from me.
Yeah.
I was like, "They don't think I'm important enough."
The only reason we ended up getting somebody is because a parking enforcement officer came by and said there's a uniformed police officer in the Apple store. I would recommend just walking up there and talking to them.
Mm,
And that so my mother's like, just stay with the car in case a police officer, because we put in the call for a police officer before that happened. She's like,
right.
just stay here in case one shows up. I'm gonna do that walk, and that's how it got done. And they take the whole statement and everything. The valet guy ends up not having a driver's license.
Wait,
Like I have a
what?
driver's license, I just don't have it on me.
Oh,
It's
okay.
like, yeah, but you drive cars
You
for a
drive for a
living.
living. There might be one thing that you need with your uniform, man, and it might be a license.
Which like, and there's another valet guy. There's two valet guys, right? And my mother's like, is he gonna get in trouble for not having a license? And he's like, you know what? I tell him every day, have your license on you. Your job is driving cars. This, as far as I'm concerned, this is the chickens coming home to roost.
Oh, right,
And I'm
man.
like,
Jesus.
good for you, guy. You're
Yeah,
not
man.
wrong though. So we're sitting there an hour, and it finally gets all resolved and everything. And we sit down to finally eat the dinner, which now, like, I was hungry before sitting in the car from a drive to Boston to Philadelphia, and I didn't
Right.
eat anything because I wanted to enjoy the meal. But now an hour has gone by,
Yeah.
like
Oof.
like right outside of salvation. So like that 18-ounce Delmonico I was gonna get, I'm considering getting the 50-ounce tomahawk ribeye. Like I'm like, I think I could do it right now based on the stress and the delay.
Yeah, man. Like you're coming down from that adrenaline rush of the car
Right.
accident and all that sort of stuff. Because even though you weren't in it, like you still don't know what the
Yeah,
damage
you
is
don't
going
know
to be
what's
till
gonna
you get out there.
happen or that.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, and again, like it's just a dent to the car, but it's also the fact that like we weren't driving. We don't know what's going to happen, right? You have that
Yeah.
stupid thing on the valet ticket that, like, we don't assume liability for anything. Or
Well,
the liability
like
we
really.
assume is at management's discretion.
Yeah, look, and at the end of the day, like all of that sort of crap is bullshit. When people are just like, "Oh, but there's a thing that says that they assume no liability," and it's just like, no, you should always still check in with like lawyers and stuff because just because somebody says that, it does not mean that they actually have a legal leg to stand on. Like this is a perfect example of something like that. Like they put that stuff down for legal reasons, but at the end of the day, they can't just say we don't take any responsibility for driving your car. That's ridiculous. Of course, they have a responsibility with your car.
Exactly. That's why you have insurance.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
why this steakhouse, rather than have its own valet team, has contracted out to you because
Yeah.
they don't want to assume the liability should something like this happen.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah,
cheaper
no.
for them to contract out to you and let liability fall at your feet.
Exactly.
So we're sitting there looking over the menu. I need a drink. My mother needs a drink. And the hostess comes over. Like, she's like more maitre d'. I don't know. Like, I didn't really understand the hierarchy at this steakhouse. Because, like, there was a lot of theatricality at this steakhouse that, like, really impressed me. Like, the guy getting all excited about my Nintendo shirt. It's like, that's not going to happen at Smith & Wollensky. Actually, that kind of stuff has happened at Smith & Wollensky, though. So I'm, like, being rude. I'm trying to think of a place where that, like, definitely wouldn't happen. No, Michael Jordan's, it's happened, too. I can't think of any steakhouse where I've been to where this
Wes's.
sort of thing... Yeah, Wes. I don't know. Probably like the Capitol Grill. The Capitol Grill, no one would be like, oh, they'd get excited about my Nintendo shirt, but it'd be like, sir, you need to leave.
Oh, yay, we get to kick you out, asshole.
Right. So she comes over and she's like, so the valet company just called and they're going to be taking care of your bill tonight.
Oh.
In addition to taking care of any damage to the car, should her insurance not find her at fault.
Jesus.
So, the meal that we drove down there for, it suddenly becomes covered. And like, and it's one of those situations where like, am I being a jerk then for ordering what I was going to order? Because it's a steakhouse with two names. It's a blank and blank steakhouse. So like, stuff's not cheap.
No.
Like the cheapest cut of meat is $40.
Yeah, but you know the really nice thing about that is you're not staring in the face of the guy paying for your meal. Like the idea that it's the valet and not the restaurant that's going to pay for it, I don't care. At that point, I'll order everything on the menu.
And we had a good night. We didn't go crazy though. Like we each got a steak, we each got 2 drinks, we each got salad, we each got a side. Oh, and we did a seafood tower because you can't not do a seafood tower.
Well, I mean, you're at a barbecue joint. Like, let's do this thing.
We're at a steak joint. You
house.
get them mixed up, man. It's crazy. But yeah, so this happens. But then our actual waiter comes over, and he sees my shirt, and he goes, "I love your shirt." And I'm like, "Oh, thank you very much." And he's like, "Do you play Zelda by chance?" This really happens, Sejohn. Our waiter goes, "Do you play Zelda?" And my father goes, "He practically lives in Zelda."
He practically lives in Zelda. Thanks, Dad.
And Dale's like, yeah, he speed runs it. He goes, I'm going to put your order in and I'll be right back. So he goes and puts the order in. He comes back and he's like, so Breath of the Wild, what did you think? And I'm like, I liked it up to a point. And he's like, was that point when it got real repetitive? And I'm like, yeah, like I got to 70 shrines and I'm like, I'm done with you, game. He's like, I agree. And he's like, how do you feel about Link to the Past? This really happened. I'm not kidding when I tell you. He goes, how you feel about Link to the Past? And I go, I've beaten it 120 times this year at least. And he's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, I've beaten it 120 times. So how do you feel about Link Between Worlds? I'm like, I love it. I think it's fantastic. It's a great sequel. I think it was better than Breath of the Wild because it played on the history a little bit better. He's like, oh, I love this so much. And he's like, and I'm really excited to get a Switch, like, not just for Breath of the Wild, but for the new Metroid game. Because I'm a huge fan of, like, Metroidvania-style games. And I'm like, oh, have you heard about the Super Metroid Link to the Past crossover? Guy's, like, head blew up when I mentioned that this exists. So he's like, what? You know a lot about this stuff. And, like, my mother's like, well, they do podcasts. So He's like, you guys podcast? So he ends up getting a card, and I give him the Twitch information. So Jeremy, if you're listening, thanks for being a fantastic waiter and for making our experience at Butcher and Singer like better, considering the rocky start that we had. The food was excellent. I ate a 50-ounce steak. Did not blink an eye. I felt like John Candy in The Great Outdoors. Especially since, then we weren't paying for anything. I almost get a couple of hats for the kids. But it was just this great experience at this restaurant. And then, like you do every morning, like if you're leaving Philadelphia in the morning, your first stop should be Jim's Steaks on South Street. So we go there and we opened the place up. We were the first 4 people inside Jim's at 10 o'clock when they opened. We got 8 sandwiches. We each ate one in the upstairs like vestibule, and then we left and we drove home. And then you know what we did when we got home? And I have to recommend this to anybody who's been in the car for 4+ hours. Followed up with a pedicure, and not just like one where they cut your nails, but one where they like massage your legs. Pampered like a king.
There you go, man.
So that was the Decker weekend.
Jesus. Wow. I cannot believe that your car got hit at valet, though. And it sounds like the restaurant did really good by you guys, too. I mean, like, not that they, like, were involved in any of it, really, because at the end of the day, this is all the valet company dealing with this shit, right? But it's cool. It's cool that...
Like, the worst thing is my mother, like, as she's all, like, amped up heading out the door about the fact that the car got hit, the hostess is like, are you guys going to stay for dinner? And she's like, of course we're staying for dinner! Like, what do you mean? I'm not going to leave because my car was in an accident?
Oh, God. Yeah.
And I'm like, you didn't need to get mean to her, right? But I get it.
Not the right time to ask that question.
Yeah,
but
right. Like,
also...
you were a little raw in that moment. So I think she gets it. But yeah, so it was this great thing. So Butcher and Singer, if you're down there, I mean, it's pricey, but the theatricality and their biscuits, man. I'd go back for the biscuits.
Nice.
They were great.
Biscuits. Good to go, man.
So that's it. So this has been the Say Report. I've been Devon Decker. If you have anything you want to yell at me about, like what I said, or my opinions about the Academy Awards, you can hit me on Twitter at Devon D. Decker.
And I am at Siegers of the World, and I'm not like completely like twittering my experience with the Darksiders series again, but it's been hard to not jump on and say a couple of things here or there. So if you're interested as where I am in my Darksiders adventures, hit me up because I've just started the second one. So and this game is like 1,000 times bigger than the first, so there's gonna be a lot more coming.
All right, excellent. So that should be fun. Philadelphia, take us home.
Thank you for listening to the Say Report with your host Devon Decker and Stephen Serwick. Please follow the guys on Twitter and Facebook by searching for The Say Report, and you can always subscribe on your podcast channel so this is delivered straight to you and you can enjoy it every week. With apologies to your mother, we'll see you next time.